Hello everybody and a very good morning. Welcome to Crafters TV. My name's Ben Moseby. Thank you for joining us on this sunny Sunday. It's quite a nice day here actually. It's a little bit cold, a bit of a chill in the air, but it's a nice Sunday. And the weatherman says on the radio this morning that it's going to stay nice today here in the northeast and be a rather mild 13 or 14 degrees. I hope it is nice. Why am I doing the weather? I hope it's nice wherever you are today, and I hope you are ready for a fun, crafty day. It is birthday eve today. We're all very excited, even bigger and more exciting than Christmas Eve, of course. So we are uber excited about that. In 24 hours time, of course, we are getting ready for birthday. And before I just tell you about today, if you haven't yet got your booklet, if you haven't yet received it, you can now download the digital booklet. It's available for you right now on our website. All you have to do is go to the website, click on my funny little face, and you'll be led to the booklet, which you can flick through and peruse at your leisure, and everything is in there. I mean, you've got all of the launches, you've got the dates, you've got who's launching what, you've got little kind of tidbits about little special deals and potentially mystery bag, goodie bags, and I can't tell you much more, but it's all there. Do download it and get ready because that all begins tomorrow. Today, though, we've got a lovely day lined up. Of course, a little bit later on, we've got Second Chance Sunday. That show, we're going to look back at some of our favourite products from the last couple of weeks or so. Lily's going to be in for that show from 6 o'clock tonight. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. Previous to that, at 9 a.m. Eastern, we've got a masterclass all about edgeables. So potentially if that's something which you want to look into, maybe you've got some questions, maybe you've bought some products recently and you're looking for hints and tips, that is the show to be tuning into. And of course we kickstart your Sunday morning with Colour Me Happy. Everything colouring in this show, and whilst we're going to be concentrating on, as you can see, our fantastic discovery kits, it is a great opportunity, I always think, this show, to ask those colouring questions. If there's anything that you want to know about specific Spectrum Noir products, anything that you're stuck with at the moment, you can ask questions on a sort of wider variety than just on the products that we've got here. That's what this show is for. Don't ask me the questions though, because as you know, I'm a bit of a novice colourist, just getting into the old colouring, done a bit of tri-blend colouring recently, as you saw. And if you are a bit of a novice colourist, don't worry, I'm not going to be answering the questions. The lady who's going to be answering the questions this morning and providing the inspiration is a lady who I haven't seen for, well, she'll probably know, but I want to say that I know I saw you this morning, but previous to that, I don't think I've worked with you since April. It's the lovely Jan Brown.
No, that can't be right, Ben.
I feel like I know I saw you this morning and I saw you obviously briefly last week. I don't think I've worked with you since April. It
can't be that long, surely.
I
don't know the answer. I hadn't looked, but no, surely not. April, May, June, July, August, that's 6 months ago.
It feels like it is.
It can't be that long. It just feels that long. Anyway, we're back together. We are reunited this morning, aren't we, with our colouring show. So yeah, loved it. When I saw that on the schedule, I love colouring. So yeah, any questions that you've got, pop them through. We'll have a look. And if there's anything that I can answer or even do a quick demo with, we can do that during the show. It's quite a flexible show, this one. So we're going to do some colouring. We're going to talk about the differences between the pens if you're just starting your colouring journey. I've got lots of samples to show you in a few minutes. And as I say, we'll have a look at the differences, because it can be a little bit confusing if you're just starting out your journey when there's lots of different types of pens. And then obviously I've got some demos lined up for you to try and tempt you, you know, as to whether you're in the alcohol colouring bank or whether you're in the watercolouring bank. So yeah, that's the two main differences.
Oh, that's good. And these kits as well are brilliant for that as well. If you want to sort of dip your toe in the water to find out, you know, which bank you're going to maybe end up in, they are great. And also, you know, yesterday we were talking to the Violet Studio shows about that bundle with all the little that had the bags in. You're thinking, oh, these would be great as individual sort of Christmas gifts. Again, if you go for the big bundle today, you've got lots and lots and lots of colouring ideas and lots of kits for lots of different people potentially in your life. So again, if you're Christmas shopping today, this main bundle might be for you. Let's have a quick look at the Weekend Super Saver, and then I will do a quick few hellos, because I know there's lots of you already up, which I'm very appreciative of on a Sunday, particularly for those of you who are Pacific time, 3 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday. What even are you doing watching? I mean, I appreciate you, but come on, it's 3 o'clock on a Sunday. You should be snoozing. Glad that you're not snoozing though, because if you're snoozing,
You're losing.
You are losing, particularly with the Bell Countryside selection that we've got. This is our weekend super saver. Now, we do these just over the course of the weekend, obviously, hence the name. And the deal is only live while stocks last, or indeed just for the course of the weekend. This deal will end midnight tonight. I think we've got enough stock left to cover everybody. A lot of the times these do sell out, but we've got a bit more stock available of this. However, get in early because it's a lovely selection of items from the Bell Countryside collection. It works like this. You're going to get 12 sheets of your flower forming foam. You're paying for that alongside these items that I'm about to show you. So you're going to get a lovely selection of stamps. That is the Lumieres and Lanterns. Really lovely feel. And I always think when I see this particular collection, if you've got the chinoiserie set, it's a lovely stamp set that will kind of cross-pollinate with that and give you plenty more opportunities as far as your crafting is concerned. You've then got everyone's favourite. It's called Equine Elegance, but we call him Paul the Horse. He's there as well, and again a lovely, lovely stamp for you to get colouring with the die as well there to be able to cut that one out to pop onto your project. And then you've got this, which is the Country Home, that beautiful country home nestled amongst the woodland there with a lovely selection of sentiments in there too. So you've got with love from me to you, you've got thank you, to a dear friend and more. That's what you're paying for. Everything else I'm about to show you on the Weekend Super Saver is for free. So if you're getting some flower forming foam, we thought it'd be quite nice if we threw in some dies that you could work with it. You've got one of those amazing quilling dies, which is going to give you the opportunity to create all of your stamens. You've got your dies in there as well to create all of the depth of your petals and the little leaves in there too. You're also going to get some edgeable dies in here as well, the ornate lace dies. You're going to get another stamp and die set, the Grande frame. That is beautiful. And again, you've got a selection of different sentiments there that you can pop into the center of your project. And if that wasn't enough, also for free, you're going to get your statement floral. Once again, a beautiful collection there. Great to get your colouring going, and you can cut out the little bouquet that you make there too with the die which is included. You've got especially for you with love and Garden Gate. I love the font on that. All of that is free within the bundle. £23.97 or $31.84 is your platinum price. Only relevant over the course of this weekend, so midnight tonight. That price will go back up to where it should be, so do make sure you grab it whilst you can. Few quick hellos. I must say morning to Pamela Dashwood, who's watching from sunny Devon. That's my manor. Whereabouts are you, Pamela? I'd love to know. Sarah says, hello, everyone. Sending hugs your way from Melbourne, Australia. Hope you're all doing well. It's 9 p.m. here. I'm already in my bed, ready for some fun and laughs with you all. Hi to Linda from Gloucestershire, sunny in Gloucestershire. Georgie Ann's in from Florida. Margaret Matheson's with us. Jeffrey Langley is in saying, good morning, Ben and Jan, and all the superstar CTV crew and folks joining this day. Superstar crew. We've got, they're all right, they're not too bad today. We've got Jamie and Charlotte in the gallery. Oi, oi, hello, they say. Hi to Sarah, who says, please wish my friend Rhiannon Govan a happy birthday. She turns 40.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yes, I recognise the name.
Oh, and then Rhiannon comments saying, hi Ben, Jan, crew, and crafty friends from Ballarat, Australia. Today's my 40th birthday. I have an awesome day and I now can relax and finish the day off watching Crafters TV. What did you get up to, Rhiannon? Did you get any nice presents? You'll have to let us know. Hi to Christine Mahoney. Hi to Jill, who says, hi Ben, Jan, and all the crew. Hi to Cheryl Kay, whose birthday is tomorrow. Remind us. Oh, no, you say birthday tomorrow. Yes, it's our birthday. Come on, Ben, get with the programme. Hi to Adriana from Texas. Who else is in? Shelley, Regina, Cheryl, and also Suzanne Dawn, who says, love that your bunting is still up, Ben. It looks fab. It's going to stay there until the bosses come in tomorrow and they go, that's not part of the birthday set. What's that doing there? Take it down. I haven't spelt it wrong, it's correct. But yes, it's going to stay there. Right, let's have a look at the Discovery Kit collection that we've got. This is massive, and basically, if you've ever wanted to grab all of the Discovery kits that we've got in one fell swoop, then this is the way to be able to do it. It's 11 kits, 169 pens, and goodness knows how many sheets of your cardstock and paper in there as well for you to get going with. It's £95 or $131. You're saving £65 or $88. The platinum price is ridiculous today, £76 or $104.80. And what you've got here really is like the full journey, isn't it? Because you've got the initial Discovery kits that we launched, kind of, you know, taking you on a bit of a journey with all of the different styles of colouring, from your illustration to your mandalas, I always love seeing this one because actually one of the first days that I was in, Baz Furnell, who is the expert with this kit, he was actually in the studios, in the old studios. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
day?
I remember, yeah.
And he was phenomenal. But you've got modern calligraphy, you've got creative colouring and watercolour. So lots of different types of colouring in sort of mini bundles. And then you've got the bigger bundles as well. So, and these are called advanced discovery kits, not to say that you have to be more advanced. They're just advanced from the point of you've got more within them, more pens, more sort of colouring opportunities as well. So you've got your adventures in colour, comic book heroes, art of illustration, and again, the masterful mandalas, which are always really, really popular. And like you said, Jan, the great thing about, I mean, you can get these individually, right? But to get all of these today for you know, a super, super price means you've got a little bit of everything. And whether you know, you're a bit more of an experienced colourist looking to perhaps, you know, stock up on all of your colouring pens, or you're just getting started, these kits kind of allow you to kind of decide where your colouring journey is going to go, don't they?
Yes, yes, like we were saying earlier, you know, there's a big difference between alcohol colouring and watercolouring. Watercolouring is a lot more forgiving. It can be a lot more abstract, whereas your alcohol colouring tends to be more specific. There's the blending element to it. So, you know, depending on where you're at on your journey. And I think the other thing with these, Ben, I know they make fantastic gifts.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so to buy that bundle at the reduced price that we've got on today, with that massive saving, and then have individual kits that you could gift to friends that are crafters, I just think you're on a roll there with them, aren't you? And you know, they're a nice gift. You know, there's a good quality of pens in there, there's a good selection, you get the artwork in there, you also get the hints and tips from the actual artists themselves, and then there's the fine liner pens, which we're going to talk about all of that as we go through the morning.
Yeah, and I think the great thing is, again, if you are fairly new to us and if you're looking at this whole bundle and you're thinking, oh, you know, looks a bit too much for me here, hopefully over the course of the show, we'll kind of pick and choose and have a look at, you know, each of the different selections so that you can kind of choose and decide where you want to go as far as your colouring journey is concerned. We're going to start off, though, I think, and have a look at the mandalas.
Yes.
Because, again, a lot of people tend to kind of go to that first. I mean, I wonder why that is. Why does sort of mandalas excite a lot of people, do you think?
I don't know the answer to that, and yet I'm drawn to it.
Yeah,
I like actually drawing these, you know, get the old compass out and actually draw the circles and the lines, and I like actually drawing these, which comes sort of branches into the Zentangle, the doodling side of it. So I have actually drawn these before myself, but the actual colouring in of them, you know, I'm going to show you different ways today, because it doesn't have to be all singing and dancing. You can see the imagery on the front there. There's a lot of shading. You've got lighter elements at the top, darker elements at the bottom, so where the light's hitting your picture, all that, and this is where we're going, sort of taking your art to the next level. But what I want to do is bring, even with the advanced kits, I want to really bring it back today, because if you're just starting your journey, if you've seen me before, you'll have heard me talk about what I call flat colouring, and that's without any of the blending, and I just want to show you that, you know, if that's what you want to do with these, you can. You know, just because the imagery on the front and all the details discuss the blending aspect of it doesn't mean that that's what you actually have to do with it, you know. So there's lots of different ways you can get creative with these. I'm going to go through what's in the kit in a second, but I just wanted, you know, to sort of show you that once you've actually made them as well, we've got some lovely little samples. You know, this is just a quarter of one of the images, so obviously if you imagine, you know, the whole circle of mandala, this is just taken it, and you know, you could make 4 little note cards there, create a nice little box to put them in. You've got a lovely little gift set. You know, you could have different sentiments on them, or you could have them all, you know, the same. It would be a really easy one to do, but you get the enjoyment of doing the colouring in the first place and then actually making something with them. Alternatively, if you keep them whole, you know, they make fantastic sort of home decor pieces. So that is one of them in its entirety. Just added a few little embellishments that we've all got in our stash
the
there.
Violet Studio set we had yesterday, those daisies.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and this one's just been popped on some ribbon, you know, to make like a hanging plaque. But again, this could be the front of a card, it could be the top of a box, it could be the beginnings of a scrapbook page. It all slots in to all the other paper crafting elements that we're used to with our card making, our scrapbooking, you know, our 3D design. So that's just a couple from the mandala set. And then I'll just show you these while I've got them here. That art of illustration, these are stunning imagery, honestly. So again, you know, colouring them in on the sheets. The sheets are actually A4 in size. Colouring them in, cutting them down and actually popping them onto your cards. We've got a lovely little stepper card there using a couple of those images, but all this lovely sort of otherworldliness in it. It's got the planets and the stars and everything, very sort of astrology elements in there. But again, you know, using it on those larger cards, I mean, I think that would be terrific, you know, for sort of maybe a teenage birthday or something like that. I just think it would be really, really nice. And the fact that you've coloured it and got the satisfaction of having that image. So that's the art of illustration. And then we've also got, no, sorry, that one's the colour. What's the colour one called? Just remind me, Ben.
It's called, oh, you've got me now. It's called...
Colour.
No, it's called, oh, creative colouring.
Creative colouring, that's it. This one's the art of illustration there. Yeah, I was getting carried away. So this one's actually done with our Illustrator pens, which again are an alcohol-based pen. And they do work slightly differently because they've got that beautiful brush nib on. Now, I'm going to go through, as we look at the kits, we'll talk about the pens as well, you know, but to get this, you know, this absolutely, you know, that one drew me to it straight away, purely because it's pink. But just look at that blending in there. And it's not as difficult as you think. But then this blew me away. This has been done. This looks as if it's been cut out of a printed sheet and put on the card, but it's all flat and it's all been done with those alcohol pens.
Sorry, that's not been die cut?
No, this is actually part of these kits.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just been done. And this is a perfect example. I mean, we tend to think of alcohol colouring done with sort of the same shading. Yeah. So a light, a medium and a dark of the pink, for example. This has got a whole kaleidoscope of colours on here. You know, and they've all been used very cleverly. Some of it's been done with the blending, some of it's been done as brush strokes, some of it's been done as little dots. But I just think that literally is the epitome of what the alcohol colouring's all about when you get to that level. I'm not even sure I'm at that level. I could do this one with the blending, but this is something else. I don't know who did this. Have we got a name on it? Lisa. Yeah, so hats off to you, Lisa, if you're watching. That is absolutely stunning. Yeah. It really is. And then we've got just the Illustrator sets. Again, you know, we've got things like this with that lovely, using two different colours as well. So not necessarily sticking to what you may have seen as done blending, you know, a lighter, medium and dark of the same shade. You can actually start and add different colours in there. These are just some of the smaller sets. You've got the macarons in there, again, just blending the oranges and the yellows. You've got the yellow and the green there. Yeah. You've got that beautiful sort of, could be a nice herbal tea there. And then, of course, there are smaller sets that have got the colouring aspect in again. That's, you can see that there's a link, you know, you can see that the artworks are very similar style to what we looked at. And then also watercolouring, which we're going to have a look at. I've got this little guy as part of my prep done. And watercolouring's a whole different ball game. So, yeah, if that's something that I want to have a look at as well this morning, because we often lean towards the alcohol markers. So we're going to have a look at this one as well as the show goes on, if you can stay with us. So, do you want to have a look at the kit, Ben, or do you want me to open mine and have a look?
Well, I don't mind. If you've got it there, we can have a look with you. The age-old question, I always ask this, and I can't remember what your answer is, so I'll ask it, because I think it's probably different for, you know, depending on who's that side of the studio. But if someone's, I mean, I know with these kits you get a little bit of everything, but if you are new to colouring, what is your take on what's easy to start with, alcohol or watercolour? What would you say? If you were to start off again?
That's a really difficult one to answer, Ben, because they both bring something very different to the table. Like I said earlier, the watercolouring is much more forgiving. Yeah. It is meant to look abstract, so if you go outside the lines, you can get away with it. Whereas the alcohol colouring tends to be a bit more sort of neat looking, the finish, with the blending, and the blending is something that you do need to practice and learn. So possibly, even though I tend to, you know, sort of dive into the alcohol colouring straight away, I think starting out, maybe the watercolouring is actually more manageable, would probably be a good way to put it. But I'm going to show you with the alcohol pens this morning as well, that you can start out without the blending and get equally good results. If you just like colouring and you're not fussed about all the blending and all the shading and all the fancy arty bits, if you just like colouring, you know, they're still usable. And that's what we're actually going to have a look at first this morning. I've got some samples that I've done, some elements of this already done, but I want to continue with it and show you that you can just use one colour and actually create something really nice. So in your sets then, these are the advanced ones. So I started there. You can see there we've got 2, 4, 6 of our tri-blend pens. So straight away you have got 18 different shades there. So each pen, if you're not familiar with any of these, the Spectrum Noir range, each of these pens has, oh, let me get one that I've not coloured and then it won't bleed through the back, will it? Let me just grab a plain one. Each of these, the idea of the tri-blend is that they're in 3 sections, and we've done all the hard work with regards to blending.
Yeah.
So this is actually a purple blend, and it's made up of a selection of shades from that purple blend that fit, and if I flick this over, a light tone of that colour, a mid-tone of that colour family, and a dark tone. So the whole idea behind this, if I just grab some scrap card there, let me just grab a piece of card, is that you don't have to do all the hard work because these will blend. You've got that light one there, just to saturate the cardstock, that will go directly into your medium one. And you can see that they're all, it's almost like a sort of heather shade of purple.
Yeah.
So I've got the light one on one end, and then the pen breaks in the middle, and you've got the mid-tone in the middle. And then all you do is flick the whole thing round, and you've got the dark blend on the other end. So there are 3 different shades of that one colour family. And you can see there that they're all part of that same family.
Yeah.
So they're going to blend beautifully when it comes to doing the designs like we've got on the box here. You can see that we've got lighter versions of that jade green going into darker versions lower down where you would expect the shade to be. So that's the ethos behind the tri-blend. So you've got 6 different colours in there. We've got a red blend, a golden yellow, an ice blue, a jade green, magenta, which is a pink shade, and the purple there. And you've got 3 of each of those in each pen. So like I said, 6 pens, 18 different shades already. And then we've also popped in there a couple of our art liners. Now, if you haven't seen these before, these are actually the black that you need to sort of outline work. You can draw with them, you can write with them, you know, however you want. If you want to stamp an image and then go over the top of it to highlight it. And these actually come with a nib measurement on them. So on the top of my pens here, I've got 0.1 and 0.3. So 0.1 is going to be extremely fine. So fine that we're going to struggle there. If I just show you, you can just see on the edge of there. And if I actually draw my line with it, you can see how fine. So for outlining and things like that, absolutely brilliant. Now the 0.3 isn't much thicker, but you'll see when I draw the line that there is a degree of depth there. So this one's slightly thicker, and then you can get others. I've got in my stash, I've got 0.5s, I've got 0.8s, and then there's brush nibs, you know, so you can extend those. But the idea with this is that you can actually start and outline your image. So for example, if we go back to the narrow one, if this is what I wanted to do, you know, you could start and actually bring in the work around what you've coloured, and sort of bring out that line art, because the illustrations that we've given you in the pack are all done in sort of a pale grey.
Yeah.
So if you want to actually, and I'll show you what I mean when we get into the colouring aspect, because it really does make them pop. But you know, if you were actually wanting to sort of, if you look round that side now rather than this side, it sort of lifts it off the page a little bit. So yeah, everything has its use. So in this particular kit and all the advanced kits, you're going to get that selection of colours along with your art liners there as well. And then also in that kit, you're going to get a selection of artwork. So, you know, ranging from very, very detailed artwork there. You know, that one's really busy. If I come back through these, you can see there's lots of different ones. But if I bring the little card back in again, you can see easily where we've just sort of gone a quarter of one of the images to make that little notelet there. So these are some of the ones that I haven't done yet. Some of these, and these are all printed. The other side of this is that they're printed onto the correct cardstock, and I'll come to that in a second. And then there are a couple that I've actually started on. You can see we've got that one should be that way up, because we've got the lighter areas at the top coming down to the darker areas at the bottom. Same with that one, that way. You've got the lighter areas at the top coming down to those darker areas at the bottom. And you can see here where I've done some of the outlining with the art liner. And then what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to start working on this one. Now, these are all done with pens from the kit. So the first one that you saw finished here was the magenta and the purple blend. This one's actually the ice blue and the jade green. This is just one pen. So all I've used on this one is that yellow blend, which has got a light, a mid-tone and a dark. And this is what I was talking about with the flat colouring. So just to show you, you know, if you're actually on your beginning of your journey and you want to just enjoy some colouring, this is what you can get. It doesn't have to be done to the degree where you get that light source hitting the top and it's shining down to the darker pieces underneath that are going to be in shadow. Also in that pack, we've got hints and tips in there from the artists themselves. So this one is talking about the colour theory. So it talks about the pens themselves, the nibs, the inks. It talks about how to store things like that. Shows you basic shading tips. It goes through sort of like a little helping hand. Or you can always watch us back, like if you're if you've sort of popped a bookmark on the shows, you can actually watch them back. And then the artists themselves. So this is Baz's top tips for actually doing the shading. And again, he talks about, that light source. You've got the little light up at the top here. And the idea being, for example, with this one, that if you had a light shining towards the top here, it's going to hit these outside edges. So you can see where I've actually left my highlight, sort of preserved it and left it there. And then as you come further down, you can see here, for example, we've got that lighter shade at the top. But because this is faceted, it's meant to look faceted. The underneath one would be darker because the light wouldn't hit it. And again, as you come round, we've actually gone slightly darker at the bottom. So, all this is explained in here, as well as watching, how we demo them. So, lots and lots of information to help you on the way.
I remember when he came in and he was actually doing it live in the studio, he would actually draw a little torch on a little bit of paper by what he was colouring, so he could remind himself, which I think was quite a good tip.
But I wanted to start today removing all that. I want to take all that away, Ben, because I know there will be people out there watching that are thinking, oh, she's lost me already. I'm not into all this shading and light source and things like that. If you just like to colour, I want to just show you now, just using that one pen, but using the 3 different tones in it. So you can see where I've gone sort of light, mid-tone, dark tone, all of that golden yellow blend. So we've got our coding on here. The GY stands for the gold yellow, and I've got number 2, 3 and 5. So we've actually missed number 4 out. In the whole range, there will be a GY4 and a GY1, but we've just put you a selection in here that you can be confident will work together for the blending aspect of it. But if you just want to work and do some colouring, like I say, just taking the lighter one, all I tend to do is outline my area first. So wherever I'm working, take the alcohol marker round the outline and just give yourself that area to work in. Now, one of the tips I can give you with alcohol colouring is to actually what we call saturate that first area. So, I've popped one layer down there, and this is really interesting because this looks darker now than the one I've got at the side of it. So, with alcohol colouring, you actually need to wait for the alcohol to evaporate. So, everything that you colour will dry slightly lighter. So, this is exactly the same tone as what I've done here. But you can see there's a difference in it already. When we've finished, this one should lighten up a little bit and it will look like these two on around the edges. So again, just to take, in fact, we'll do the next one. So all I did was then sort of go through my colour bands here. So I've gone to the mid-tone. And at the side of it here, again, pop it round. And what I've done is I've just popped some scrapped card underneath it to act as like a blotter, because it will, if you've saturated your card, it will soak through. And I said I'd come back to the card. For alcohol colouring, you want a really nice smooth surface. Now we actually do pads of this on the website. You can actually get that artist quality paper in the form of a pad. Alternatively, something nice and smooth like our Nina cardstock is perfect for alcohol colouring. What you don't don't want is a piece of our watercolour card, because this is very absorbent. It's made for watercolour techniques. It's made to absorb water. It's made to sort of shade and blend. But the alcohol pens it'll just drink them up. It'll just literally drink the pens up, and they will be empty before you even know it. So we just want a nice smooth cardstock. And again, just outline and then turn, rather than trying to get into an awkward angle. I can always draw a straight line because I'm right-handed. I can always draw a straight line better that way.
By the way,
than if I come this way.
Yeah, worth bearing in mind, we do have the rotating boards on the show, and it's the last of the stock of the wooden board available. So if you want to get your hands on that, then again, that is a lovely item to go along with a kit like this. And we have the accessories as well, so the magnetic accessories and also the Nancy tote bag, which it fits perfectly into. It's handy, isn't it? Oh, it's sold out, is it? Oh, we'll double check. But the rotating board is a handy bit of kit to have. There's a new version coming out, I think in maybe next week. Oh, it's gone. That's a shame. That's a shame.
So all I've done is I've gone over that area twice to get a really nice saturation of colour. And what you might notice, if you're new to this type of colouring, is I know when I was younger, I've always loved colouring. And when I was younger, I used to have, you know, a whole range of felt tip pens. And they used to be what I called really scratchy. Yeah. And when you did that, you'd colour a bit in, and then where you overlapped, you could never get rid of that layer where they've overlapped and it was a different colour. This, I can go over it as many times as I want. It will slowly darken the tone of the colour, but it won't leave. You can see there are none of those sort of scratchy lines in it. It blends out beautifully. And then if we go back to that first one, you can see how that's lightening up now. It's drying, that alcohol's evaporating, and it is drying so that it's going to sort of meet. This one again now looks darker here to me than this side does. Again, once the alcohol's evaporated, you'll get that sort of... So it's worth remembering that any alcohol colouring will dry slightly lighter than what you actually pop it down as. So this is the darker tone. This is that GY5, almost verging into a nice golden brown colour, which is still part of that same family. But you can just see, you know, however you want to shade this in, the first layer can look a little bit blotchy, but I always do 2 layers just to saturate that area and make sure that it's spread out. So we've got that darker shade, and it's just starting to create.
It's really refreshing as well just to see you using them like this, because like you said, I think a lot of people
we get bogged down in the blending side of it.
Like you say, when you think about it, you've got a light, a medium and a dark. Why not just use them as 3 individual pens? Because you can get terrific results that way as well. And
you can. They are a really good colouring medium if you like colouring, and you will get a nice finished result. You know, you'll get that artist quality result with very little effort, you know. Now, I'm going to come back to this one later and show you some of the shading. But I just wanted to make a point this morning of sort of explaining the fact that if this is your level, this is fine. You know, it doesn't have to be all singing and dancing.
It still looks amazing like that, doesn't it?
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with those art liners, and I've gone for the 0.3, which was the sort of slightly wider one of the 2. And what I want to now show you now is the difference when you add this. Like I said, all the artwork's been done in a shade of grey, so that it's not overkill when you start colouring. But if you actually wanted to come in then with these, and again, it depends how steady your hand is, but you can always add your ruler to it on the straight lines. But when you start outlining some of these, and again, I always draw my straight lines that way. So again, I'm going to turn, rotate that design, and I'm going to go, whoops, here she goes, look, this way. And again, from here, just following the artwork. So there's nothing really tricky about it. It's just being able to draw a straight line. And like I say, if you're not so hot with it, pop your ruler out and have a look at that design there. But you can see how this makes that artwork pop off the page. So I'm just going to bring it around the bottom there. We're just going to do this one and then compare that to the rest of the imagery on there. So it's not perfect because I've gone freehand. But when you look at the difference this one is now, compared to these, you can see how it sort of lifts it off the page. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you this morning is that this is okay.
Yeah.
If you're just using, you know, imagine that done in any of the colours. You know, we've got a lovely spectrum of colours there. You've got the reds, you've got a nice ice blue, which is a really nice shade of blue. The jade green is lovely. This one's been done with the ice blue and the jade green. And then you've got that magenta, which is a real nice pink tone that's been done with some of the magenta and the purple one. So 6 different colour families there to get you going. It's a really good start. You've got primary colours in there. You're verging onto some secondary colours in there. It's a nice one to get you started with. And as I say, the tri-blend pens, if you are starting your journey, are a really nice one to sort of go for. So yeah, I will come back later in the show if we get time and actually do a little bit with the shading on as well, for those of you that maybe are a little bit further down your colouring journey. But I just wanted to have a look at this, and I've never actually seen any of the crew do this. We always get bogged down with the shading, because that's what alcohol markers are meant for. But I just wanted to bring it right back on the basis that, do it that way.
A couple of questions. One from me actually. So you know, so if you sit down and you have the artwork there in front of you, you when you're colouring. Because I think a lot of people ask, where do you start? Do you go into out to in? Do you start like halfway as you did then? Or like, a lot of people might be overawed by thinking, well, where on earth would I start colouring?
The trick with the mandalas is there's such a lot of repetition. Yeah. This is a really good one as a starter if you're just starting out, because each one of these sections is the same as the next one. Okay. So in this case, it doesn't really matter where you start, because each one of these is exactly the same. So once you've done one, you can transfer that same skill to the next one, until you've finished. Now, when I actually started doing this, I started on that inside element here. That stood out to me, that star on the inside. And I started with the light to the medium to the dark. Now, when I was doing the one that was shading, again, we only sort of section them in half for demo purposes so that you can see the artwork and you can see the coloured aspect of it. You can see where I've started doing a little bit more in a previous demo. But this one, it's worth just using a pencil and popping an arrow where you want that light to go, because obviously when we're turning and working on the artwork, it's down here now. Yeah. And you think, you know, so yeah, you just need to remind yourself that this is actually the top. And I would normally start with the lightest areas and work my way down to the darker shades if I was doing it with this kind of colouring. If it was just normal colouring, for example, on these ones, skin and hair are probably a little bit more advanced as far as colouring's concerned. So I would always start with the skin and then do the hair tones. Yeah. The rest of it's the easy bit in my mind. So once you've got the skin tones right and you've got the hair right, then the rest of it is just sort of plain sailing. But if you were sort of spent an age colouring all these gorgeous flowers in and then made a real mess of her face, you just think, oh, I've just wasted my time now. Yeah. So yeah, with sort of anything that's got sort of faces and things like that on, it's always the skin and the hair. And then if you go back to the, where's my watercolour ones? We're going to do a little bit with the watercolouring later. I've lost my little froggies here, look. So with this one, I've done a little bit of this at home already, and I actually started with some of the smaller areas purely because I wanted to leave a decent area to work with today. So there isn't a common rule, Ben, as to what's right or wrong. Again, you know, it's entirely up to you. I tend to work from the top down normally so that you're not resting on stuff that you've already done. But as I say, depending on what you're working on, you've got that facility to turn it anyway. And just a quick question here, which I'll ask. Any more questions? Do you get them in? And like we said, it doesn't have to be specific to these kits. It can be anything colouring in general. I always think it's really handy to ask, particularly when you've got, you know, someone of Jan's experience here. Let's use her while she's here to get that knowledge. Charlotte just says, question for Jan. Can I use alcohol ink over a watercolour dyed paper? Yes. Yes, what you've got to remember is the two don't mix. So when we're talking about stamping and colouring, if you're stamping out a line art, we always make a point of saying that you need an ink that's not going to move. Right. So that ink for alcohol colouring would be a water-based ink. So if, for example, I wanted to stamp something like this, I'd make sure that that ink was alcohol proof, so it needed to be water-based. And then when I start colouring, it's not going to interfere with the line art. On the same basis, if you've got a watercolour background, the alcohol pen isn't going to interfere with the watercolour. If it was an alcohol background that you'd managed to pop together, then yes, any wet alcohol would agitate what was already there. But if it's watercolour underneath, they're almost like opposites don't work.
Yeah.
So anything that's watercolour, if you've done a background with inks or with sort of pixie powders, any of the Cosmic Shimmer products, anything like that we've had on the website or that Jamie's brought, anything like that is watercoloured. That won't interfere with anything alcohol. So yes, if you were stamping over it, just make sure that you've got the right ink pad, and then you could colour in with your alcohol markers over the top. If you're just wanting to add detail over the top with your alcohol markers, then yes, it won't interfere with anything water-based underneath it.
Great.
It's almost like oil and water don't mix.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So alcohol and water don't mix.
There you go, Charlotte. Hopefully that's answered the question for you. Thanks to Lorna, who says the samples we've seen are amazing. Melanie D, loving the show, as is Shelley. Rachel saying, Ben, you have the most strong, manly voice as my Wi-Fi signal slows down. Australia is so backward with the internet. I like to think I've got a strong, manly voice without Wi-Fi slowing down. That's what I always say about myself, how strong and manly my voice is. I love colouring mandalas, says Jamie Ennis. It's my favourite hobby. And hi to Kathy Myers from Missouri. If you like the mandala kit on its own, of course, all of the kits that we brought, this is the main bundle you're seeing the details for here, where you get the 4 advanced discovery kits, you get the 5 original discovery kits as well. But if you want the mandalas on its own, the advanced discovery kit details are at the bottom of the screen. You'll also find as well, if you go on the web, like there's some really great videos with Baz himself, the man who's obviously helped put this together, and he is phenomenal with the mandalas. And as I say, I know it was literally about the 2nd or 3rd day when I started here back in 2020. Then he was here, and he's got loads of hints and tips. So if you search for him on YouTube, and as I say, if you want to go back and watch that show when he came in, it was the start of September 2020. It would have been a Colour Me Happy, one of the first ones in 2020. You'll be able to go back and watch his take on these kits as well. And with all of these kits, it tells you who the expert is with them. And if you search for them, you will find videos of them giving their kind of ideas of you know, how they think it can be more helpful for you to kind of get using these particular kits. But that on its own is $24.99, and you can see for yourself great value there. But then when you consider you're getting that within the main bundle, that is £76 or $104.80. You can see what great value for money that particular full bundle is. Right. We're going to take a short little break right now. If you've got items in your basket, good opportunity to be checking out. And also, if you've got any more questions, fire them in, and we will get Jan to answer them when we come back after this short little break.
We get to know people from places and walks of life that we wouldn't come across in our everyday life if it wasn't for Crafters TV and doing what we do.
I got so many lovely comments from people when I started doing the presenting, and it was just really such a lovely feeling. And it's nice that people keep messaging in. You know, we see the same people. We know you can build up that kind of relationship with those people. So it's just the fact that people like what we do and they're pleased. And I do love it when people send us photographs of the items that they've made.
We talk about customers, but really they go in as a customer, come out as a friend. The support that I get is amazing. The messages I get are amazing.
Me personally, it is personal interaction. I've never had the best of health. I've always been open about that with our viewers at Crafters TV. So many people are in the same situation as me health-wise. Other people have got a completely different health issues. They understand and they relate to what I'm going through, what others are going through. So whether we interact on a crafting basis or whether we interact on a health basis, a personal basis, we're all there to support one another. It is incredible.
The reaction of viewers when they come to meet us is worth all of the early mornings when we have to get up for our early morning shows.
Some of the customers come on as craft ambassadors and things like that, craft along with us, and being able to actually chat with them on air. Love it. I really love that connection with them.
We've had lots of shows where we've done like craft alongs, especially where we've had viewers craft along with us. We had a particular viewer, Joy, who joined us once before, and she literally made me cry on air, and Joe, because the things she said about us, it really was quite humbling that there are people out there that watch us and invite us into their living rooms and really treat us like family.
Time to get red carpet ready. Our sensational 17th birthday is nearly here, and we're bringing the razzle dazzle to celebrate in serious style.
Join us from the 17th to the 30th of October for the most sensational soiree of the season.
Boy, do we have some treats in store for you. We have got a star-studded lineup of launches and so many crafty treats and surprises.
So head on over to the Crafters Companion website to find out more.
Oh yes, this time tomorrow, I've got a funny feeling it's not going to be as laid back as it is this morning here. A nice, gentle, ease you into a Sunday, colour me happy show. You know, we're all quite sort of laid back, all sort of, you know, feeling quite Sunday-ish. This time tomorrow, it is going to be fast-paced with the official launch of our birthday. I know lots of you looking forward to that. Hi to Kathy, who's joined us. Hi also to Cheryl, who says, that's a good tip. I would definitely confuse myself with all of the turning with the light source. And Rachel says, Ben, I didn't want to call your voice outright sexy over Facebook Watch. We don't know each other that well. Well, now I'm beginning to blush. Shush, Jamie, stop it. Right, let's move on and talk about the colouring. I'm going as pink as some of the colours that we've got in these collections. So, the full bundle you've got here, the Discovery Kit, has got those 11 different kits in. So you've got the big Discovery Kits, the Advanced Discovery Kits, and the original Discovery Kit. A lot of people are going for the individuals as well, and that's what we're trying to do. We're not going to get time to show them all during the show, but hopefully we're going to show you some of the most populars. And I know the original illustration Discovery Kit has proved very popular. This one focuses more on our illustrators, Jan. And again, for people who are new to us here, this is another style of our Spectrum Noir pens, but again in the alcohol. But of course, these have got like fine nibs and brush nibs, haven't they, the illustrators?
Yes. What I'm just going to do here is just rummaging under there. I just want an ordinary pen.
Okay.
So just on here, this is just on my scrap card. If I just do the Spectrum Noir is our brand name for anything to do with colour. So whether it be the pens, whether it be our ink pads, anything like that. And then you've got three sort of main areas. Well, I'm saying three main areas. Off the first one, I'm going to put Classiques, and we'll come back to those in a second. Those are our sort of basic range of alcohol markers. These are all alcohol pens at the moment.
Yeah.
Then you've actually got the tri-blend markers, which we've just used, which actually take that alcohol colouring to a level where we've chosen the shades for you. The same colour families, so you'll get exactly the same colour range in the Classics as you do here, but these are single colours and these are in that 3-pen blend.
Yeah.
So with the Classics, you're into then looking at deciding which ones you want to blend. This one, it's actually been done for you. Then you've got the illustrators, which is what I'm going to show you now. Now again, same colour range. They're all the same colours across the board, but these ones have actually got a brush tip on them. So you've got a bullet nib, They look different just to sort of show, you know, that they're a different pen. But if you have a look at these closely, they've got a really fine bullet nib on them, finer than the tri-blend that we've just been using.
Yeah.
So if you like to do sort of fine detail work there. But the one that makes this special is that beautiful, beautiful Japanese brush nib. And I'm going to show you these in a second. You can do different techniques. You might think, well, why do I need them all, Jan? If you like to colour the portrait work like we were looking at with the skin tones and the hair, particularly the hair, or animals that have got fur and things like that, the brush nibs are brilliant for that flicking technique, and that's what I'm going to show you in a second. And then the last arm off here, which we haven't looked at yet, are our aqua markers.
Yeah.
And those are standalone because those are the watercolour ones. Oh, I've just written WC for watercolour there, and it looks as if it's the loo, doesn't it? As soon as I wrote that, I thought, oh, God. But yeah, watercolour.
We know what you mean.
So these are all alcohol.
Yeah.
All three of these are alcohol.
Yeah.
And this one, as I say, is standalone. The two don't really play together very well, completely different techniques. And we'll come back to this one a little bit later in the show. I've got some work to show you with that one. So just for the time being, I'm actually going to show you where we're at with these Illustrator pens. So the actual nib on, the bullet nib on these, as I say, is quite fine. So if you're wanting to colour in sort of smaller areas, it's a really nice one. Bearing in mind the same colour family. So on this one, we've actually got Ice Blue 2. Now, if you remember, I said there was Ice Blue in the tri-blend range.
Yeah.
So it's the same colour family. So in here, this one is the tri-blend, and you should have exactly the same colour there. So what I'm saying is now, with Ice Blue 1, 2 and 3 in the tri-blend, this one just happens to be Ice Blue 2. You've got the same colour family, but you've got the means of, if you look at the nib on that one, and then look at the nib on this one, there's quite a big difference.
Yeah, there is.
In size.
Yeah.
So it's about how you colour and what you're wanting to colour. But those beautiful brush nibs, these are second to none. Leanne did an awful lot of work with the nibs in the pens. And again, you know, you've got the ability to do the much thicker line, but these come into their own when you start actually using them like this, because where could you get that gradient of line starting thick? Let me just get a darker one so that you can see it a bit better. Let's try the jade grey, the sea spray one. That's one of the jade ones. But again, if you're wanting to do grass and things like that, there's no way with the tri-blend would I get the differential in the thick and the thin elements, because this comes to such a fine point. You can get into those little tiny areas, and you can colour small areas if that's what you wish, but you've got the bullet nib for that. But again, you know, it may be that you're wanting to come down this way to meet. So if you've got sort of, for example, let me just grab my pencil out of here. I've sort of gone off the idea already. So again, if we make this into just a leaf shape there, you can bring that colour in from one end, rotate, bring it in from the other end. And even with one pen, if you remember I said that the alcohol needed to evaporate to get that final colour, what you can do is you can add depth with the same colour. So if I keep going over this now, it will get darker, but if I let it dry first and then go back over it, you will get an element of depth in it because of the way that the alcohol works. So just to sort of start and go a little bit darker at one end, let it dry and then go in again, you can still get that depth with one pen, as opposed to needing all the different ones. So again, different results depending on what you're wanting to do. Now again, if you imagine that this is actually hair or dog fur, something like that, animal fur, it's a great way of adding in texture as well. So that's the main difference between the tri-blends and the Illustrators. It's the nib formation on them. So these all have bullet nibs in the three colours that we know will blend. We're guaranteed they will blend. This one has actually got that lovely fine bullet nib and then the brush nib. Now I'm just very quickly going to grab off there. I've got a classic one because I've not got those with me today. Now the classics are different again So again, it depends where you're at on your journey and what kind of things you like to colour. The Classic, if you remember, I said was sort of the main bulk of the pens there. Tri-blends are allowing you to blend. Illustrator's bringing the brush nib. But the Classic pen, not only does it have a bullet nib, which is similar to the tri-blend, the secret weapon in this one is that lovely chisel tip.
Yeah.
So again, you've actually got the facility to colour in quite large areas with that bullet nib. Saturate the card. This one's been used well by the looks of it. But you can see how, you know, if you've got a large area to cover, or the other thing that I use my chisel nib pens for, because I do have lots of these at home, you know, loving colouring. I have got lots of the different ranges. But the chisel tips are great for colouring other things in. And when I say other things, I mean things like embellishments. So if you've done a card and you want your embellishments to match, if you remember a few times back when I was here, I'd got the little dewdrop self-adhesive gems.
Oh, yeah.
You can colour those in with these and get like a glass-coloured bead.
Yeah.
You can colour metal buttons and things like that. I've actually gone straight onto MDF with my chisel tips as well and coloured straight onto MDF on wood without any primer. If you're wanting. Now, I wouldn't do a very large area. I wouldn't be colouring something that was very large. But for example, if I was working on a tag or something like that, or even an embellishment, I've gone straight onto MDF with that chisel tip. And it's made to withstand a little bit more force than the delicate. Obviously, I wouldn't try and do it with that lovely delicate brush nib. It's about, again, choosing the right bit for the right, so fit for purpose is what I normally say.
Yeah.
So again, you've got that Classic with the bullet and the chisel tip. You've got the tri-blend, which are all bullet nibs, but you've got the shading aspect. And then you've got the Illustrator that's got that fine bullet nib and the brush nib. So they all bring something different to the table. We're not saying you have to have them all.
No.
You know, that's not the idea. I know there will be people out there that have got all the collections for this reason, but you don't have to have them all. It's about thinking about where your journey wants to be. What do you like colouring, and which of these systems actually fit well? Now, I would say, if you are starting out, that anything that's got the tri-blends in is a really good place to start because you've got that facility there. When you start with the Illustrators, slightly little bit different technique. And again, as I say, the Classics, all individual with that brush nib on. So in this particular one, you get 5 of our Illustrator pens, and you've got a really nice selection here. If I turn the box over, you can see the colours on the back here. You've got a really nice selection of sort of nice spring tones in this one. So you've got the yellow, the jade green again, the orange one, the blue one, and a pink one in there.
Tropically.
Pardon?
It's a bit tropically, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? But in this one, it teaches you how to blend colours that are not the same family. So again, you get the artwork in there, so you can see where I brought in, this is the actual sketched artwork that comes with the set. This is what you can actually do with it.
Amazing.
With those pens in the set, I just think it's stunning, absolutely stunning. And again, you know, you can see I've started some of the flower work here. That was that lovely cup. If you imagine, you know, sort of a favourite herbal tea going on in there, something like that, yeah? And again, there are some blank ones. So if you've got stamps that you particularly want to try practicing colouring, and flowers are always a really good one for practice work. But if you look at this one, if we come back to this one and actually come back to my scrap piece again, I'll just pop this on the back. You can see here that we've actually got a mixture of the yellow and the orange one here. And I've got a mixture of the pink and the blue one on this one, and then we've got the green in there with some of the yellow as well. So you can actually, with this system, work on them where you've got 2 different colours. And again, using that lovely brush tip, the first thing I would be doing is adding in my colour. So again, just use that nib to saturate that area, and this is all still done on that lovely smooth cardstock.
Yeah.
So either our Nina cardstock if you're buying it as a card pack, or as I say, you can look into the actual colouring pads. Have got a lovely alcohol one in there.
We have got Nina on the show if you want to stock up on that.
And then all I'm going to do with the orange shade, so this is actually, it's one of the coral actually, it's called Starfish, it's one of the coral shades, is just use that nib to its advantage there.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is adding some depth in the bottom, but just bringing those lovely fine lines, and then I'm going to turn it round because I find it easier again to come from the bottom and flick outwards. So again, and what I want to do is sort of keep a mixture of both of these in that sort of area, and just work on one area at a time. And then if we go into that larger area there, again, get the colour down first. I'm not even going to talk about the highlights and things at the moment. I don't want to sort of put people off by saying, I've left a little bit of white purposely for that reason, but I'm not too worried about that. But again, just bring in that lovely, and it's a really light touch, so to making contact with the page at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then just practice it on some card first, just that lovely sort of flicking technique. And you can see how it sort of starts to build up those areas and get a nice blend. And what I do then is go back in with the yellow, and we're going to come over it again.
It's the same, for me, the penny sort of begins to drop a little bit. So it is the same sort of way that you would use your tri-blend, isn't it, almost? But just using 2 pens as opposed to the 1 pen blend that you get with your tri-blend.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, you know, you can see there, if I bring this in, you can see, I mean, that is actually that design. Yeah. Obviously still the yellow. This is where it can start of come into your card making. You know, that's just been cut down and matted and layered. The black's always good for the matting and layering when you've been colouring because it brings it off the page, it sort of pops. The lines round it are done with that fine liner again. You have actually got the 0.5 in this one. So if you remember, the other one we looked at was 0.1 and 0.3. Sorry, this is 0.05.
Yeah,
so this is going to be a really, really fine one. If I go back to where we did the others, here, look, this is going to come in before that one. And you're going to get that really fine line. But what it allows you to do again, if you wish, is to start and actually come round some of this artwork and darken up. And again, these have been designed so that they won't interfere with your alcohol. These actually, while they're wet, the water would agitate the line art. Yeah. But once they're dry, they're completely waterproof. So they will work with your alcohol markers and with the watercolour aspect that I'm going to show you in a little while. But you can just see there, adding that extra little bit of depth with the fine liner, just to bring it together. It just makes, and it's also a way of tidying up the edges. If you've sort of gone over the edge a little bit with some of your colouring, it's quite a nice way of sort of tidying up those areas that you might have thought, oh, you know, I've smudged it, I've gone out of there. You can use this one to sort of clear those areas, but you can just see how it sort of brings it to life when you look at this now compared to this one. And it just lifts it off the page. So again, that's the Illustrator markers. If I go back to my sort of little diagram, you can see where they fit into that sort of Spectrum Noir being the umbrella heading. With the Classics, if you remember, the Classics were the bullet tip and the chisel tip. The tri-blend was there with that lovely blending aspect. And then the Illustrators come in with that lovely bullet nib and the brush tip there. Yep.
Yeah. I'm loving the diagram. I do love a diagram.
We're going back into teacher mode.
No, I know, you can tell.
I used to have a big whiteboard to do all this on.
Everybody knows, I think, pretty much, unless you're new, obviously, Jan in a formal life as a teacher. And if you didn't know, you kind of thinking, was she? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It just breaks it down, I don't even realise I'm doing it, to be honest.
But I think that's why people love it when you're here, because you're very easy to follow, explain everything so thoroughly. And I think that's just, it's so nice, isn't it? To get Jan's take and, you know, get all of these hints and tips and see the diagrams and get all the thorough explanations. You know you're going to have everything broken down, so hopefully you're not going away and having, you know, thoughts in your head of like, oh, what do I do again? And the great thing again, you know, with this particular kit, with the illustration kit, you've got the tips and inspiration, this time from Tatiana Kuvaldina, who again was the lady who kind of helped put this kit together. Once again, you'll find within the actual kit itself that you've got the explanation within this. But again, there's more videos out there. If you go to our page, if you go to YouTube, if you search for her, you'll find those hints and tips and those videos as well to make it Again, nice and easy for you to get colouring with these with confidence. We're going to have a little look at a video in a minute with Tatiana. In fact, should we do that now? We've got some questions coming in, so we'll have a look at this little video. Jamie Ennis appreciating the diagram as well. Wasn't it a great diagram? I do love a diagram. A diagram and a pie chart. A big fan of pie charts.
Are you?
Yeah, mainly because it's pie. But yes, we will have a look at this little video with Tatiana, and then we'll come back. I've got at least 3 questions I need to fire at Jan, and then we'll have another look at one of the other kits that we've got. But here is Tatiana, all about this illustration kit. Have a look at this.
There are different things that really attracted me. One of them was the shape, because I'm one of those people who keep losing my markers because I draw with so many of them, like 30 or 40 lines on my table. They keep rolling off. And because of the shape of the Illustrator, they don't, which means a lot to me.
Yes.
And then it's very convenient to hold because I'm one of those artists that spends a long time on each artwork. So I can draw like 4 hours, maybe 8 hours, one piece, sometimes even longer. And I can work up to 4 hours at a time. And it's very important to have a pen that is comfortable to hold because after an hour or so, you get tired.
What makes Crafters TV so special is you guys.
It's really special because the experts are really experts. They're really skilled at what they do, and they want to make sure that the audience also improves on their skills.
Crafters TV is so special because you've got together a really sort of key group of people and people that are very passionate about the products.
Crafters TV is so special because it's a unique community that we have with each other where we can learn and grow and communicate with each other.
Community, the family spirit, the education, everything to do with craft. We are all like-minded people who share a passion.
I love all the inspiration the demonstrators bring and all the knowledge for us out here.
What makes Crafters TV so special? 100% it's the interaction. No other crafting TV channel or show has the same interaction.
I love the community, I love chatting live, I think that's the best part. And it's gone beyond crafting because we've become friends.
It feels to me to be a really, really close relationship with our customers and viewers.
You guys make us feel like we're part of your family. I've never been on the show before, but one of my friends who I did meet from CCTV encouraged me, and I was on the craft along.
A massive team of people, and I think they've all got their role to play, and it just brings everything together. It allows us to do our job and just love it.
The people, obviously, the people not just here at Crafts Companion, but the viewers that watch us. I mean, everybody. We have this real magical essence about it.
Bye for now. Bye.
Time to get red carpet ready. Our sensational 17th birthday is nearly here, and we're bringing the razzle dazzle to celebrate in serious style.
Join us from the 17th to the 30th of October for the most sensational soiree of the season.
Boy, do we have some treats in store for you. We have got a star-studded lineup of launches and so many crafty treats and surprises.
So head on over to the Crafters Companion website to find out more.
23 hours to go. 22 hours, 51 minutes to go. Very exciting. Few things, we've got a few questions to ask, which we'll do, and also well done to those of you who've realised that I can't count. It's not 11 kits, it's actually 9 kits. You're going to be getting 4 of the big ones. You're getting 5 of your original Discovery kits as well. And as I said, we're going through as many of them as we can over the course of this show. Do you want the questions quickly? Okay. Oh, so there's 4 questions now.
That's all right.
The other one's just popped up.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So, Jill says, question on the Mandala one.
Yes.
Jan, how do you decide where to put the outline pen and on which one?
The outline pen.
So
there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
There really isn't. If I just bring that one back that I've done, you'll see that I did actually do some of the outline. Let me turn it around that way with the light. You can see that I've got outline pen on some of them, but not on others. You know, there's no hard and fast rule. If you want to do the whole of it, absolutely fine. if you want to just do parts of it. So you can see on this layer, I've gone around the outside one, but I didn't do the middle bits. I've gone around the outside here. Just left it so that some parts of it look more prominent than others to try and get that aspect that it's not flat. It is really. Completely flat on the page, but you want it to look as if it's, mandalas are traditionally layered, so you want it to look as if it's lifting up. So where you've got that darker line, again gives that illusion that it's set off the page, but there's no right and wrong with that. You can add that depth or none. You might not want to add the line around it. You know, you might be happier with it. You might want to use the darker shade of your colour and go round the edges with the darker shade. So again, just have a play with them and see where you get with them. No right or wrong.
Shaddai says, now that we have multi-purpose cardstock, do we still have to bother about the cardstock and ink?
Yes, depending on what you're wanting to do. The multi-purpose cardstock was originally our stamping, but then it very quickly became apparent that it was great for die cutting, it's great for making card blanks, it's great for construction work, it's great for colouring on. So yeah, we decided that multi-purpose cardstock was a better name for it because it does lots of different things. That's the only difference, the name changed, the card is exactly the same. Multi-purpose card is a really nice smooth cardstock, so your alcohol pens would work on it beautifully. The only thing that I will add to that is that it's a little tiny bit more absorbent in its makeup than the Nina. The Nina is a really sort of they've both got a smooth finish. It's what's in between. It's what's the card's made of. And I think there's a little bit more density to the multi-purpose card, which means that it may soak up the ink a little bit more. Now, I colour on the multi-purpose card, don't get me wrong. I've stamped and coloured on it for years, and I also stamp and colour on the Nina cardstock. It just depends what I'm doing, what I actually want the finished thing to look like. The multi-purpose card is a bit whiter than Nina. Nina's got a little bit of an off-white shade to it. So again, a lot of it depends what you want that end result to look like as to where you're heading with it. But yeah, it's sort of, it's fine for colouring, certainly fine for colouring with pencils and things like that. The only thing that I wouldn't do on the multi-purpose card is the watercolouring again. You do need, and I'm going to come to that next, you do need watercolour card for that purpose. So I hope that answers that okay.
Yeah, these are great questions. Hi to Dorothy, who says, thank you for this class, it's been very helpful. And Cheryl asks, is there a difference in the pressure that you colour with when using the markers, like colouring with the wax pencils? It looks like you're touching the paper gently with all of the different pens.
Yes, if we go back to that element that I was just talking about, let me just find my scrap piece again here. And if we go back to that element here, I'll just grab that red one that I had. It doesn't need a lot of pressure because obviously the last thing you want to do is damage any of the nib formations, whichever combination of pen you've got. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on them and damage them. So it is a very light touch. And I am literally only just sort of skimming the surface of the paper there. I'm not pressing on at all. The ink will flow beautifully. They've all been designed to, within an inch of their life, to deliver what you want them to do. The way that you build up that depth, like I say, is let it dry, and it doesn't take long. You're probably talking about a minute or so for that alcohol, the wet part of the product to evaporate. Now, obviously, there is a thing about there being fumes from alcohol markers, and there is. I'm not going to lie about that, there is. But unless you're doing a massive amount of colouring or working with them neat, like with the re-inkers, there isn't really any cause for concern. So it will always say in any of your booklets that you get with it to do them in a well-ventilated room for that purpose, as it would with our all-purpose glue, our Collal. It's a solvent base. Alcohol ink is a solvent base. So anything like that, just be aware, that there may be a sort of a smell from it, but it's not detrimental unless you're colouring in, like a whole wall with it, which is unlikely. But once this has dried, like I said, with the same colour, you can then start and build up areas of it. So if I just do half of this now, and actually go, I usually go over it 2 or 3 times because it's what we call reaching that saturation point. And that means that eventually, you see, I haven't actually got enough down there yet that's actually going to fit, come through the back. But eventually, with keep saturating it, you will get to a point where it starts and comes through. You can see here where this one started to come through, the one that I did at the beginning of the show here, look. And it will saturate the card. But you can see here how we're building up that depth of colour just with one shade. This is just DR6, which is quite a dark red. It's quite a dark one. The higher the number on the coding system, the darker the shade.
Yeah.
So DR1 would be a much lighter red than DR6 that we've got here. But you can see, if I just lift this up now for the camera, you can see here out, even using the same pen, I've got some degree of shading just with that one tone. And that's just literally by going over it, letting it dry, going over it again, letting it dry. So you can actually shade, like we did with this one. We sort of added a little bit more depth at the bottom here with the same colour, as opposed to going with the 3 different shades, which we've not actually done yet. I will come back to that mandala with the blending and show you how that's done. So yeah, as I say, there's different ways to use them, different ways to sort of build the colour. Just quickly before I move on, Ben, I know you might have another question.
I've got one more, yeah.
I just wanted to come back, just touch very quickly on that last kit that we had with the illustrators in, because there is a great section on mixing colours. This comes in your box, all right, with the Discovery kit. But there's a great section on mixing colours here. So when I said you get 5 colours in there, we're working with things like primary colours. So we know that a yellow and a blue will make a green, and it'll make a different green to this one. We know that the yellow and the pink will make an orange, which will be different to that coral shade that we've got in here. All 3 primary colours make brown. So, you know, you've got the opportunity to sort of add to those colours by mixing them together. And you would do that on your card. It's not about mixing like we think of with watercolours, where you might mix in a palette.
Yeah.
It would be adding one colour and then adding the other colour over the top, which would totally change your first colour. And it explains all that in the booklet that comes with that illustration one. So that was the one that we were looking at when we were colouring the flowers in.
Okay.
Yeah? So go on then with your other question.
I'm loving these Q&As. This is brilliant. Should I just says, thank you, reference the multi-purpose guy. Says, well explained, Nana Jan. Thank you so much. I won't use it for water. I have specific for water, well explained. And Miriam, I've been looking for you, and I thought we did have, but I can't see it, but Jan might know. She says, is there a colour wheel for the alcohol markers? I've searched the website. I can't locate it.
Do you know, there isn't.
Oh, I thought
there isn't.
was.
I nearly brought mine with me today. If you go on any search engine and just search colour chart, there are tons of them that you can print off, and they are really useful. They really are. The theory behind that, again, is that you've got, you start off with your primary colours, your red, your blue and your yellow, which are what we call a triad of colours. And then in between there you get your mixes. So red and yellow makes orange, yellow and blue makes green, and blue and red makes purple. So you get that secondary triad there. And then there are lots more in between. So again, here you would get a blue-green, which would be more of a turquoise shade. This one, you'd get a green-yellow, which is that lovely lime shade. So the more times you sort of mix them, the more variation of colour, but they all start from those 3 primary colours and work outwards. So, and again, with the tri-blends, you'll get a situation where you've got, for example, if we go pick the purple off that colour chart here, you'll get that sort of dark purple, medium purple, light purple as it comes into the centre there. So with any of the other colours, you'd have a dark red, a medium red and a light red. And it's really useful for things. I know some people, and I've always said I've not had an opportunity to do it, but I could do a whole show on this. It's good for, people will say to me, how do you choose what colours to put on a card if you're a card maker? How do you know which colours to put together if you're a scrapbooker, that kind of thing? And it's really good because they always say, if I cut it here in half, this side of your colour chart is the warm colours, and they play lovely together. So anything that's red, orange, yellow, pink, that kind of thing. Whereas this half are the cold colours.
Cool, yeah.
So you've got purple, blue, green. So all those colours play really nicely together. But then there's nothing to stop you. You know, this could, as I say, I could do a whole show on this because opposites attract. So blue and orange work really well. Red and green work really well. Purple and yellow work really well. So the colour wheel, I think, if you like colouring, is an essential piece of equipment. And what I did, I just had a look online, just searched colour wheel, found one that I liked that had got the degree of information, because some of them can be a bit overwhelming. If you just want a plain one that's got the colours in, fine. You don't have to go through that blending. Print it off, and if you've got access to a laminator, laminate it. That's what I did. And then you've you've got it there, you can bring it out. Mine hangs on the cupboard at the side of me. Bring it out and use it with whatever you're working with, and you can sort of then have a look, well, does the colour that I've coloured in work with that colour? Or if you spin the wheel round, does it work with that one? You can actually buy them where there's layers that do rotate. But as I say, look at what you need and just print one off. If you've got a decent printer, you should be able to get one to print off. That's all I did with mine.
More questions, please. I'm really enjoying the questions and all the answers. And I'm also enjoying that 3 diagrams we've had today now as well. 3 diagrams. Scrap Paper Scissors says, I've missed Jan. I've missed Jan as well. I'm sure I'm going to look back and see what my last show was. I bet it was April.
Do you know, we were always, when I was teaching, they always said that there are different types of learning. There's audio learning, visual learning, and kinetic learning, and the best way to learn anything is to do all 3. So if I can talk about it and I can show you here and you have a go with it, you've got all 3 of those areas encompassed, and that's the best way to actually take anything in, and then it's just practice after that.
Miriam, whose question you just answered, said, thank you for explaining that. I took a photo of your chart with the primary colours. I've been taught that so much, but for some reason I can't get it. Duh.
Oh, Miriam. Bless.
No,
yeah.
Like you say, the best thing to do is if you're someone who hasn't got one of those colour charts, just to search it and you can pick them up quite easily on the old interweb. But let's move on, and we're going to have a look. Obviously, we've covered quite a lot when it comes to alcohol markers, but within the collection that you're going to get, if you go for the full bundle with your 4 advanced discovery kits and then the 5 original discovery kits, you have got a watercolour set. And again, it's nice in a way. I know quite a lot of you have gone for the full bundle today because you get a little bit of a mixture of everything, and particularly if you are undecided with where you want to start your colouring or where you want to go with your colouring, at least with these collections you do get a little bit of both. And watercolour, again, is another exciting medium to sort of start working with, Jan, isn't it? Because you can do so many different things with, as we've done shows before, where you've just gone to town with watercolour.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game. I get very excited about watercolouring. As I say, if I'm just wanting to stamp an image and colour it in for a card, for example, I'm more often than not, I would say probably 95% of the time reach for my alcohol markers. But anything that's water-based, you get a completely different look with, and they play nicely with each other. The alcohol markers are sort of on their own. You've got that little family of pens with the Classics, the Tri-Blends, the Illustrators, that are pretty much there, and they're there for colouring and shading with. Anything that's water-based will play with each other. So, for example, you've got our aqua pens in this particular set here, but it may be that you combine those with our set of Harmony inks. They're all water-based. All 3 of the inks are water-based. Even the metallic inks, the Midas ones, are water-based, so you can start and bring those in. If you've got any water-based, I know this sounds like a contradiction in terms, our gilding wax are wax-based, so they don't play, but you can get water-based waxes. They'll play nicely. A lot of the Cosmic Shimmer range that either we've brought to you or Jamie and Gwen have brought are water-based, so you can start and incorporate lots of different things that play together. Now, I'm just going to stick with the Spectrum Noir stuff today, but I want to show you mainly the differences between these and the alcohol markers. So again, in your kit, you've got 5 markers in there. You've got those lovely range of where are we? Those nice colours again. Mainly primary colours, secondary colours, but they're slightly darker than the ones in the Illustrator set. You can see straight away, for example, if you were to buy that bundle, you've got different depths of colours coming up in the different pens. Now, obviously, with this one, these are sort of standalone in that the most you could do with these to play with the alcohol pens, and that question came up earlier, Ben, was to make a watercolour background and then do some alcohol work on top of it once it's dry.
Yes.
As far as blending's concerned, they don't play together very well. So what I'm going to do with this one is just talk you through. Again, you've got that lovely art liner in there again. This one's 0.3 again. And this is really well pigmented. But like I said, when it dries waterproof. So if you were to do some work with this and then use the watercolour pens over the top, you're fine. If you want to do the watercolouring first and let it dry and then go in with this one, it would play nicely together. So we would never put anything in a combination like this that don't get on.
No.
So you can guarantee that if this is in here with the watercolour markers, they're going to play together. And then you get a selection of artwork plus some spare card, and this is really high premium watercolour card. Again, we sell it by the packet on our website. We also do that lovely premium watercolour pad. And then if you you remember, I said I was going to have a go. I've lost him again. Now, this isn't my artwork. This has actually been done by one of the team. This is Alison's work. But I started him off at home, and I've just gone a little way with it here, and I'm going to do a little bit more of this. But just before we start colouring, I just want to show you how these behave and the different ways. Again, you've got that lovely little leaflet in there, which goes into a lot of detail. You've got Meet the Artist, there's Bonita on this one, talks about the actual pens themselves and the art liner, talks about the tips and techniques. You can actually, you've seen us no end of times using these on our mat, but you can use them onto a palette, you can use them onto a ceramic tile, onto a bit of acetate, anything that's non-porous, they can go on top, and then you can spritz them and activate them with water, and then some colouring tips. I just really, really love this technique. So this is actually using the colours with water and allowing it to sort of actually bleed out on purpose. Very, very arty. So that comes in there with it as well. But just again, if you haven't come across this, I've now actually got our watercolour card, which is quite thick. All right, it's still 300 GSM like the multi-purpose card. It's got a very, very slight pitted surface. It almost looks like very, very faint orange peel when I say a pitted surface. And again, that's because the idea of it is that this is going to absorb water that you're going to be working with. So I just wanted to show you a couple of techniques with the pens. Now these have that same format as the Illustrator pens. So they've got a really nice, really, really fine tip. If I pop it on there, you can perhaps see it a bit better there. Really fine. So again, using that one, you know, if you're coming in to do sort of fine artwork or writing or highlighting, lettering, anything like that, beautiful. But they've also got that beautiful brush nib on again. So again, you know, you've got those lovely brush strokes. This one's actually Kingfisher. So you've got that gorgeous sort of way. And again, you know, if you like doing the calligraphy where, you know, your down strokes are thick ones and your across strokes are less, you know, sort of thick, and then bringing it in. And I'm not my best at this, but you can see how you can get that thick and thin stroke. But as far as actually working with them as a colouring medium, I'm just going to bring in, I've just got some water in here. I've got a little bit of kitchen paper, and I've got a really fine brush to work with. Now you can work with any. You can create your backgrounds using the wide chisel brushes. So for example, if you've got, have I got one with me? That's the widest one I've got with me at the moment, but they come thicker than this as well. So the flat ones, you can do the backgrounds with them. Yeah. But you can work from your paper direct to the paper. Yep. You can then agitate that with the water. Yes. And actually bring it out. So you can actually start with the shading, and the more you agitate it, the more it'll get rid of that line. So the more you go, and this is why you need the specialist paper. Because if I did this on something like the all-purpose card, it would start to interfere with the surface of the card, and you get those little bits in it, and you think, where have they come from? It's actually the surface of your card that's breaking down. But you can see the more I actually agitate that, the less there is of that line. And you can bring this really sort of, you can see that blending in it from dark to light. The one I like to do is to add the water to the card first. Yeah. And then if you pop a little bit on your chosen surface and drop it into that water, you can see how it starts to diffuse then. Don't know, can we get any closer, Charlotte?
She's coming in.
She's coming. She's coming right in, look, there we go. And you can just see dropping it into the water, it sort of like bleeds out into that water area. So you get a completely different look to what you have done here. It's almost like feathered. It's beginning to look like sort of crystal. So wherever you've got the water then, if I bring some more down here, it's actually, can you see how it's following it? Yeah. So it's actually pulling that colour, and it will follow where the water's going. And again, you know, if I actually added some here, you can see how it like wicks out into the sort of waterway wherever so you can direct it wherever you want to go. So lots and lots of different ways. Again, these wouldn't be any good for adding colour to things like your gems, like we talked about with the alcohol markers, because it wouldn't dry properly and it would just wipe off.
Yes.
The same as I wouldn't use these on wood or anything like that. It is meant to be used in conjunction with water, hence the name. So what I'm going to do, let's just move that bit for now, is we'll bring this little guy back in. And I use that technique on here to actually create some of the colours on here. And I followed the artwork that was on the packaging, to be honest. You can see here where we've got some of the colouring. So just for ease, again, I'm going to use that lovely green. So this is Alpine green. And I do tend to use my glass mats.
Yeah, it's so handy, isn't it?
And again, I've got the Prussian blue, which is actually purple.
Right.
It's very strange. So we're going to use those two. And I'm going to use that technique that we were just doing there. So I'm literally going to add in water first. And again, I don't want it to be saturated.
No.
I just want that water to sit on top of the card. So I've always got a piece of kitchen paper with me just to sort of tap off some of the excess. Now, I know you can't actually see what's going on there at the minute, but the minute I start and add the colour in now,
oh yes,
it means you can move it about really, really easily. And you can just push it to where you want it to go. And again, with watercolouring, it's about letting it dry. And if you want that depth of colour, it's about adding another layer. So it's about layering it rather than going with the different shades. So you'll find that there are a lot less colours in the watercolour marker range than there are in the alcohol marker for that reason. But the other thing that they'll do, which I'll show you in a second, is that you can blend again beautifully. So again, I'm just going to come a little bit further down here with the water and add, the minute I touch it, you can see how that ink wants to travel.
Does it dry quite quickly after you've done it? If you were putting this on a card, for example?
It depends how much water you've used, but there's nothing to stop you getting the heat tool out.
Oh, okay.
And now this is actually just starting to bleed into that green there.
Yeah.
Which is what I want it to do. And then again, take the excess off. And all I'm doing is just blotting over the top so that that looks intended. Now, everything that's wet will give you that idea. So I'm not going to work here now because that colour then, I'm going to change the colour and that will start and bleed into the purple. So what I'm going to do is pop a little bit of that kingfisher down as well. And I'm going to come further up to the top here. Because underneath here, we're going to pop a little bit of that turquoise in. And again, just put the water down first. And then the minute that you push it into the water, you can move it around beautifully. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go too near what I've already done for that reason. And again, let it dry. And then where I'd done the work at home, where we've actually got that sort of dry ink on, if I come back in here now, you can see we could actually start and add some depth into here by bringing in another layer as such. Yeah? So just popping it into some of the areas. And then I'm going to use that damp brush again to just sort of agitate that edge of it so that it doesn't look like a constant line. Just to agitate that edge. And then the actual art liner again comes in. Because we don't have black, there is a black in the range, but in the kit, I'm going to use that one to actually fill in the centre of his eye and just leave sort of a highlight in there. So yeah, you can actually colour with these. They're very, very fine. I wouldn't colour large areas with them. But obviously for this purpose.
Oh, very good.
You can see how we've got a little bit of that light on there just to sort of catch his eye there. Now then, I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute because the other thing that I want to show you with these, coming back to my sketch one here, I'm going to get a couple of colours that I know, let's have a think, we'll do the blue and the yellow, that lovely turquoisey one, and the yellow. So going back to that colour wheel, we said that these were primary colours and your primary colours will match to make a secondary colour. So you can do it straight onto the paper. So I could actually go with the blue and the yellow. Okay. Oh, yeah, we'll do it with that one. So I'm going to do the blue and move that one. And as I say, it will, the more you work it, the more it'll move those lines.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do the same. Get rid of the blue out of it with the yellow. But then where the two meet, if we actually start and bring them together, you're going to get your third colour. Can you see how it's bringing the green in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can do that also by picking it up from here. So again, if we pick that blue up and go a bit bigger here with it, pick the yellow up. But then the minute they start and interact, you're going to get that third colourway.
Yeah, yeah.
And that works with any of them. So that will work. This is easier to do, much easier with a watercolour pen than it is with any alcohol markers. They're not meant for this kind of process. And that's why I think there are 36 colours in the aqua marker range, as opposed to 200 and odd in the alcohol range, because you can blend them and make those different colours. Again, if we do the that lovely corally yellow, corally orange with the yellow. Again, just make sure I've got that colour out of my pen, my brush. And again, if we go on with this one, and then pick up the yellow.
Yeah, that's beginning to make a lot of sense now seeing this. So it's 36 and 216, isn't it? I've got in my head.
Something like that, yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense now you've said it like that.
But you can see now we're getting that lovely sort of peachy tone in the middle there. So again, even though you've got 5 colours there, you've got a lot of range to make orange, to make green.
Yeah.
You're going to make, those 3 together will make brown.
Yeah.
So your 3 primary colours make brown, you know. So lots and lots of different scope to have a play and look at how. And then if you've done anything like this, I would keep it on a card like this and make a note of what you've used. So that, you know, if you want to come back to it, that was, for example, the Kingfisher, and the yellow one is Sunshine.
Yes.
Yeah? Now something else just flitted into my mind then and it's gone again. What was the other one? It was to do with the colour blending. Do you know, this is age. I blame it on age.
The senior moment.
I just thought about something else I could show you.
Yeah, it will come back to you. Let me read a couple of comments.
Yeah, see whether it comes back. It's just gone straight through one side to the other, yeah.
Christine says, good morning from Altoona. I watched the shows and I'm so glad I tuned in today. Jan has been teaching us lots of techniques that are so beneficial to the art of colouring. Kathy says, Jan, such a great teacher. And Sarah Brown in Australia says, Jan and Ben, letting you both know I'm still watching. I'm sorry I haven't been commenting. I dozed off. It's 10:30 p.m. We'll let you off. I'm loving Jan's demonstrations. Thank you for sharing your ideas.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Miriam says, again, I find watercolouring so much easier and forgiving. I love watercolouring. And that's the great thing, isn't it? You know, particularly about the big bundle. You get a little bit of everything to give it a try. Have you thought of the thing you were going to say yet?
No, but I've thought of something else.
Oh, that's all good then.
This is what it's like in my head.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I can't remember what it was. I was just thinking there's something else with the colours and that's disappeared, but then something else. Now, I haven't actually brought the gear to do this, but you've seen me do this previously, in that you can turn your watermarkers into inks to do blending techniques with by adding a little bit of glycerin.
Yes.
Now, glycerin can be bought in, I prefer the stuff from the chemist as opposed to food quality. You can get a decent sized bottle for very little expense. I think my bottle's about this big and I think it was something like £1.60.
Okay.
And I've never got to the end of it yet. But by using an applicator, a little sponge applicator, and popping a bit of glycerin down and saturating that sponge applicator with the glycerin, and then picking your ink up off here. I wish I'd got the gear to show you. I don't think we have got some glycerin, but I don't know whether I've got all the other bits and pieces. Just give me 1 minute, Ben, and I'll see if I can actually do it, because it's easier to show you than it is to explain it.
Jill is saying, Jan, I think this has been the most helpful Colour Me Happy I've seen. And Adriana saying, for Ben, how many hours till the birthday? I'm loving the updates. Well, you've got 22 hours, 21 minutes to go until birthday launches. The official launch of birthday tomorrow. We'll all be suited and booted, ready to go, launching all of the best deals, giving you a heads up as to what is to come across not a day, not a birthday, it's a birth fortnight we're basically doing
fortnight.
2 weeks of great deals. If you haven't yet as well got the booklet, it is worth going to the website. I know the majority of you have, but if you're still kind of scratching your head, wondering what times all the shows are, who's doing the shows, when are the deals launching, if you haven't yet got your booklet, you can get it digitally just by going to our website, clicking on the little picture of me, and then it will open up that digital booklet, which you can download to your PC, your laptop, or your tablet. Very handy bit of kit to have. I think Jan has got, have you got everything you need?
I've managed to find some bits and pieces. So all I'm going to do is just get, you don't need much of the glycerin.
No.
So you just need probably less than, here in the UK, less than a 5p piece size.
Yeah.
I don't know how big the coins are in America. I would think, what's the smallest one? Is it the cent or a dime?
I think it's
I can never remember, but yeah, a tiny little bit. And then what you want is your sponge applicator, and you're going to soak up, so dab up the glycerin and work it really, I'm sort of quite pushing this into that sponge. I want the sponge to be loaded with the glycerin, all right, so that it's all held in here. And then you can actually pick up your colour. So again, load it up, get as much of it in there as you can, and then you can actually use your colour to blend with. Now, the reason it does this is the glycerin holds the colour, what we call open, and that just means it keeps it wet for longer.
Yep.
So you can actually turn your colours into inks, and it just glides beautifully. Now, there's no way you could do that directly from a pen, and you certainly couldn't do it with your alcohol markers. You could do it with all your inks, so whether you've got water reactive, whether you can do it with a quick dry if you're quick. The opaque ones blend beautifully, the Midas ones blend beautifully. But this is just a way of extending. You know, I mean, you saw I'd only got a little tiny bit of ink on there, and while ever this has still got the glycerin active, you know, you can blend it out. You can do it with different colours, and you'll get that lovely. This is onto the watercolour card, and you've got that beautiful seamless blend there with the colouring, and extending that ink into something that you would never think possible. If you said to somebody, I've just done that with my pen.
Yeah.
But again, this is what I mean about watercolour. It is so versatile, it really is. Yeah.
Amazing. All great tips. Lots of you enjoying the show as well, and of course still chance for you to get your comments coming through. If you haven't yet commented, or perhaps you haven't yet asked that question, do ask it, because we'd love you to be able to go away with, you know, at least one of these kits. Maybe if you don't want to buy the full bundle today, maybe it is just watercolouring that you want to get into. The Discovery kit here, really great value for money. You've got everything that you need to sort of just get in there and give it a go. And of course you do get the watercolour cardstock in there as well, to start having a go with some of the images within the kit. What I will say, I've just had a look on the website as well, if you are looking for more watercolour card, currently our watercolour cardstock is out of stock, but there is some of the Hunky Dory watercolour card on the website. So if you do need to stock up on that, or if you want to buy more alongside the actual kit that you're buying, then you have got the ability to do that. But safe to say, as you've already seen, with this kit, you know, you are going to get your 5 different colours of your aqua markers. You've got your art liner in there too, you've got your how-to booklet, and of course you've got all of your different colouring papers in there as well, printed and blank pieces for you, so that you can start practicing with. You know, and I know a lot of people are going for the individual kits, some of you as well going for the full kit. The way you've got to look at it, I think, really is just see where you are on your colouring journey. Maybe you've got other people that you're wanting to join you on that colouring journey. Maybe you're already an experienced colourist and you want to get the kids and the grandkids into it as well. That's why you might potentially go for the full collection. And then, like we were saying earlier on, with Christmas on the horizon, these are great Christmas buys for all sort of levels of colourists and wherever they are on their colouring journey, whether they love more of their alcohol marker colouring or watercolour, you get a little bit of everything within that full bundle. And for £76 today, if you're platinum, or $104, that really is a fantastic buy. But again, on the other hand, if budget is smaller, dip in and just, you know, buy whatever is relevant for you. Last chance to get in any questions, and we'll fire those at Jan just before the end of the show in about 15 minutes time. But I know the Mandala kits have been really, really popular, as they always are. So we thought we'd just have a quick look at another of those kits individually. You're obviously going to get the Masterful Mandalas, which is here, which is your advanced kit, that one there. And you've got the smaller mandala kit as well if you want to go individually, or again, if you decided that you might just want to go all mandala, you can pick up those 2 kits as a separate bundle, however you want to do it. But let us go back to the mandalas and have a look at these, because always very popular, and popular again today, Jan.
They are, and I'm going to do something different with them again. We started off, if you were watching at the top of the show, I literally just used one of our tri-blends, which has got those 3 shades. So this one was the gold yellow out of the kit, and literally just did what I call normal flat colouring, no shading involved. I've just used the light tone, the mid-tone, the dark tone, and then we did a little bit where we outlined it with the fine liner, the art liner. So that was just the flat colouring. I said I would come back to this one, which had got some of that shading on. So again, if you sort of not quite sure, just really faintly with your pencil, pop yourself a line where that light's coming from. So my light's hitting the top of this particular drawing. Now I've just chosen a couple of the pens. I've got the ice blue and the jade green. So you've got that pale blue and then the turquoisey green there that work really nicely together. And the idea with this is that if you're going to be working nearer the top of the design, you're going to be working with the lighter shades. And then anything lower down is not going to be within reach of your light source, so it will automatically get darker. So at the top here, I've literally just used that one pen in the light tone and just done the same idea with that flat colouring. I haven't done anything else to it. I've just popped a couple of layers down. I've got my card underneath again as the blotter, just in case, because this will happen. This is normal for alcohol colouring. Don't think you've done anything wrong or you've pressed on too hard. The idea is that it will seep through the card, and the more layers you do, the more sort of depth of colour you do, the more it will see. So you can see that as it gets, there's very little at the top here, but as it gets lower down where we've got the darker shades, it looks as if there's more pronounced on the back. So that is normal. So don't worry about that. And then again, let's have a look where we've gone with the colour. I'm going to flick over to the turquoise one, and in here now again I'm just going to use the light shade, which is one end of your pen, and I'm going to add my colour in first. So look at what you want to do and then flood that area with colour. Now I'm not going to go over and over it too much, but that I'm also then, because we're getting slightly further down, I'm going to come to the mid-tone and just along that bottom edge where it's nestled in above the other one to make it look as if it's got a shadow here. I'm going to add that mid-tone. I'm not even going to go in with the dark. I'm going to keep the dark for lower down and then come back to the light and just nudge that edge. Now, the one thing that I will say about alcohol colouring, and I'll do that again as an example here for you. If I do my light on here, just saturate that colour there, and then I'll jump to the dark because it'll be more pronounced for you on the dark here. Okay, the idea is mixing the two to blend. So when you're blending, you just want to agitate that edge here to blend out that harsh line and make it look as if one's flowing into the other. If I go over the dark one with the light one, and I've just done it with some dots here to show you, any lighter colour will bleach out the darker colour. So again, if I bring this really close so that you can see, you should be able to see those little dots emerging in the dark one. Yeah? So if I was to actually think, oh right, I'm going to blend them together, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over this one and blend them all together, what you will actually do is lighten this one up. Okay, so it's only ever the line. So when I went back in here now, all I did was nudge that line that I'd done with the slightly darker mid-tone there. So pop it in and then just agitate that edge so that it sort of almost like bleeds into the rest of it. Yeah? And then again on here, these are sort of meant to look as if they're overlapping. So on this one, I've actually done round the edge with the light tone, but I've left an area. If you watch Leanne when she's colouring, and Leanne's who I learnt most of my colouring techniques from, she'll talk about preserving your highlight. And what she means by that is if you'd got something rounded and that light source was hitting it, you'd get the light element on the top of it. So I haven't coloured that bit at all. I've just left a gap as if I haven't finished colouring it in.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to that mid one again, and towards the bottom, I'm going to bring in that slightly darker one. And then I'm just going to nudge that one again with that light shade just to blend it and leave it like so. And then when you bring in the art liner, that one's number 3, and decide where you want to sort of make it more pronounced. As I say, this is a good way of covering up if you've sort of gone out of the lines at all. But you can see how all of a sudden it's like lifting it from the page and giving it some sort of shaping because you've got that highlight in. And then as you get further down, as you work all the way down and we get nearer the bottom, you then start working with the mid and the darker tones near this bottom edge of it. So for example, down here, I'm going to skip the light tone altogether and I'm going to come in with the mid tone first.
Yeah.
At the bottom, because I've kept the light for the top. But this is so far away from that light source now that it's going to be in a certain element of shadow.
Yes.
And then I'm going to darken that again with the dark tone. So again, underneath, bearing in mind I said mandalas are normally layered. So you've got the base layer around here, then you've got the pointed layer sat on top of it, then you've got this one with those little claws sat on top again. So where they're sat on top of each other, there's going to be quite a dark shadow emerges because one is layered over the other. So again, I'm just using that one and then going back to that mid-tone again, just to agitate that line. And you think, well, it doesn't look very blended yet, Jan, but let it dry. Remember I said that the alcohol needs to evaporate. And you can see there now where we've got that sort of darker bit as if the other bits overlapped over the top. And then the other bit that I wanted to show you, I'm going to come back to the pink one that I'd done here. With your art liners, there's nothing to stop you then adding to these. And as I say, I love drawing mandalas to start with, so it's my thing, this.
How long does it take you to draw a mandala?
A long time.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's not a quick process because you need your compass and everything to make sure that it's all sort of dimensionally correct. But you can then, you know, these have been done for your pleasure to colour, but there's nothing to stop you then sort of adding in with those fine liners your own details into them to sort of then add even more. And that's where the fine liners come in lovely because they'll go over the top. And again, you can see how I'm rotating that work so that everything's going in the same direction here. Yep. Or it may be that you want to sort of come in and add. And this is where the actual Zentangle part of it comes in as well, because this is taking it to that level where you're adding in extra detail.
Yeah.
But it sort of brings them to life, and it really is quite, it's one of those things that's very sort of mindful. It should be very relaxing, and you can lose hours because it's not a quick process. The colouring isn't quick to start with, and then when you get into this aspect of it as well, you know, but again, there's lots of different, you know, you might want to just sort of bring in another element there. But you can start and add to it as many as you want. You could do that on any of them that you've got in there, you know, lots and lots of different ways. It may be that you just want to add that extra detail in them. But just by sort of starting and bringing in sort of that extra work in them alters the way it looks completely.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a bit of fun. You know, it might be that you don't do anything with these. It's just the pleasure is actually colouring them and working with them. It may be that you want to pop them in a frame, you know, make a piece of home decor with them, like we said, cutting into them to make card fronts and things like that. So lots and lots of different ways that you can do them. But I just think it's a phenomenal way of spending, if you've got a little bit of time spare or you want a bit of relaxation, it really is one of those things that you just get. I know if you watch Sarah when she's colouring, she'll talk about going into a colouring coma.
Yeah.
And that's what she means, because she just get so absorbed in it that you forget what else is going on. So yeah, a really nice way of sort of relaxing and enjoying a little bit of spare time.
I always appreciate when I'm on a show with you, because I know you're always very thorough and you keep talking, but like you say, when you're on a show with Sarah and she starts colouring, as soon as you know she starts colouring, you better have something to talk about, because she ain't going to be talking for like the next 10 or 15 minutes. But that's the point, and Sarah chats a lot, and I know very recently a lot of people posted about it, a lot of people talked about it. World Mental Health Month, of course, and a lot of people find you know, that colouring particularly, I mean, craft as a whole, but colouring particularly can be quite mindful. And I know a lot of people have turned to colouring as a way to kind of, you know, help with troubles and stress.
Just to relax and get that sort of, you know, calm going again,
And you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be the best in the world.
You don't have to be an expert.
It's not a competition.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It's for you. It's about you rather than what you end up with on the piece of paper. Don't think that every single piece has got to be perfect, you know. I mean, it might be, you know, if I was going to do one of these and pop it in a framework, you know, I'm just looking at this now, you know, the mind goes into overdrive. I'm just thinking these circles in the centres of the flowers, you could add gems to. And bring a little bit of sparkle in there. It may be with your alcohol markers that you can actually sort of go over the top of them with your crystal clear overlay. You know, and it may be that you actually want to bring some of the pieces and make them sparkly pieces just by adding. So once the alcohol's dry, and remember I said that the art liners were waterproof once they're dry, you can then come in and just make any of your alcohol colours into sparkly colours by adding a little bit of the sparkle pen over the top. So many different things that you can actually do with them.
Absolutely right. And again, you know, if you're buying one of these...
That's what I was going to show you with the watercolour.
Oh, you just thought of it now?
Yeah. That was the thing I was going to show you, that if you do any of these techniques... Sorry, I interrupted you then, Ben.
No,
that was very rude.
Fine.
I did all my techniques with a paintbrush and water, but if you use your crystal overlay as your brush, you're going to get sparkly watercolour paints as well. That was what I was going to show you. I knew it'd come back eventually.
Yeah, but at least we got it there before the end of the show. And you didn't think of it like 10 minutes after we came off air.
Usually at 4 o'clock in the morning it comes back.
Whether you're going the full collection or whether you're going for you know, one of the individual sets, I think it is a great way to kind of maybe refresh yourself with particular things with colouring. Maybe it's a great way to get you started, but also very much like your Academy of Colour, I also think these are great ways to kind of practice in various styles of colouring to get you more confident for when you are doing, you know, finished projects. Obviously, with a lot of these kits, you know, you've got beautiful images, as you saw with the mandalas, and as Jan was saying, if you want to work with those and colour those and then use them for, you know, finished projects or home decor pieces, you can do, but you can also very much see these kits as ways for you to be able to get to that next step, to then when you next make your, you know, next card or project or whatever it might be, you've practiced with these kits and you know that you're more of an experienced colourist, so you're going to get better results. I think however you go, you're going to love either all of these or some of these kits, however you buy them today. Lots of love coming in for the Glycerin tips, and also thank you to Debbie who says, Ben, my birthday is Halloween, so I've got the next 2 weeks to purchase gifts to me, from me,
Excellent.
And celebrate Crafters TV's birthday. And Eve B just saying good morning, we'll be saving this show. I think there'll be a lot of people saving this show as well. And of course, don't forget all of the Colour Me Happy shows, and indeed all of the shows you'll be able to find, whether it be on our Facebook page. Probably the easiest thing to do is find them all on YouTube, where of course you can subscribe to us, you can create your own playlist, you can get notifications of when we go live as well. It's just a great way to be able to kind of focus in on those shows that you like the best. And I know Colour Me Happy is always one of those shows that lots of people love. If you want to go for the full bundle, there it is on your screen, 169 pens in total across 9 sets. You've got 4 of your advanced discovery kits, which are the big ones, not advanced for the point that you need to be next level colorist to be able to use them. You've got all 4 of those. So you've got your comic book heroes, your adventures in color, your masterful mandalas, and then your art of illustration. And then alongside that, you've got like the 5 originals really, because the advanced ones came along after we'd launched the original discovery kits. But you've got illustration, you've got your blended mandala, so it's just like a smaller mandala kit really. A set which focuses on calligraphy as well. So again, if you want to get better with your writing and your calligraphy, you've got that. You've got creative colouring with Cara Aldridge, and then you've also got the watercolour set, which we had a look at too. It's a wonderful collection at a smash down price today as well, particularly if you're platinum. £76 is nonsense for all of that. $104.80 might be a great way for you to treat yourself today, or indeed treat lots of other people in your life with Christmas on the horizon. Great gift ideas. Massive thank you to you for tuning in. Thank you to Jan. I'll be back with Jan in an hour's time, and we are masterclassing it all about the edgeables, aren't we?
We sure are, yes.
Yes. Yep. So we'll look forward to that. And once again, with the masterclass, a great excuse for you to get those questions in if you have any when it comes to edgeables. And of course, a little bit later on, Second Chance Sunday with Lily, who's going to be in for the final 2 hours of your week. We are going to take a short break, have a bit of lunch. Maybe we're going to have a bit of breakfast wherever you are. Make sure you come back and join us at 2 o'clock in an hour's time for what is going to be a lovely masterclass. Until then, check out your baskets. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a bit.